Hey there everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you can join me today. So for those of you who don't know, we are currently busy with a series of 4 parts. This is part number 2. We'll be looking at how I created my own Pixar-style animation within 17 days. So we are using a 12-step process to do that. Last week we looked at steps numbers 1 through to 4. Today we're going to look at steps 5 through to 9. And as a quick recap for those of you who forgot, what we did last week, we basically created our concept, we created our story and our script, and we had ChatGPT, in fact, help us do that. And then we also used Midjourney to help us create our concept images. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these concept images to do 3 things. First, it's going to help me with my art direction. It's going to help me to get that look and that feel. It's also going to help me with my storyboarding, which is basically just helping me to get the compositions right. I'm going to use these images to help me with that. And then finally, it's going to help me with my character design, which leads us on to the next step, which is actually step number 5, which is our storyboarding step. Let's get into that. So Disney and DreamWorks have a number of professional storyboard artists who puts forward various drawings and thumbnail proposals which help with the animation or the planning of the animation. Now, the problem is I'm not a professional artist, and initially I was thinking of skipping the step, but I knew that I'll be giving myself a lot more work in the animation process. So I decided to put my very basic sketching techniques to good use and put forward some storyboards. So I'm not going to bore you guys by showing you my drawing skills. I will join you guys later on after I finished my storyboards. Okay, there we go. Storyboards are finally done. It took me almost 4 hours to put together some pictures for this very short movie. So I know many of you guys are probably wondering, what is the story about? You've got a glimpse of the script. So I'm going to use the first few sequences of my storyboard and I'll share with you guys where we are in terms of the story. So let me talk you through my storyboards very quickly. So I know that ChatGPT suggested we start sort of inside the principal's office, but I wanted to get the audience hooked immediately by starting with some form of action sequence. So I included my own 2 sequences as the intro for our movie. The first one is basically on the outside of the school, and as these animation shows normally go, we start with sort of a blue sky. Maybe I'll have some clouds in it, I'll see how it goes. But essentially we'll have a camera pan down from the sky onto what looks like a typical school. And then all of a sudden we'll hear a teenage girl scream, and then we'll hear some more screaming, and then suddenly the doors will slam open and our kids will start running out in a panic. What's going on? That's what I want to hear the audience asking. So from there, we jump from the outside of the school into the actual school hallway, where we will see some more mayhem. We'll have kids running around, and then we get a glimpse of what I'm calling our masked stranger, chasing some of the teens down the hallway, until the camera sort of ends up on a pan on a security cameras inside the school hallway. We will then cut from that view onto the actual security cam point of view, and then we'll get sort of a blurry footage of our infamous masked stranger. The footage will be paused, and then we'll hear a voiceover of Principal Peter say, "This is the best visuals we have." And then from there, we will jump into the actual principal's office. So I just thought, that camera point of view on his laptop will become a nice sort of transition between what's happening on the screen and what's happening in his office. And then we'll get a wide shot of the principal's office showing our 3 main characters, which is obviously the principal, as well as our 2 kids, Amy and Jason. And the principal will ask, "What do you think?" And I just realized now that I spelled principal incorrectly. It's actually supposed to be Principal. But it's only my storyboards, and it's only between you and me, so don't tell anybody. Wink, wink. Anyway, we continue. So then the kids look at the principal, and they look back at the screen. And in the next panel of our storyboard, I was thinking, can I have an over-the-shoulder shot, sort of a medium shot of the kids, where we actually get to see what the kids look like. And we can have Jason say, "What's Principal Peters?" I'm just going to be sure that I stick to the 180-degree rule. If you guys don't know what that is, I suggest you Google it. Then we can have Amy deliver her next line, something in the line of, "Mysterious how?" And then we get another wide shot, or another establishing shot. So in this particular shot, I think we'll have the principal share his line. So he's got a long, very dramatic line that he needs to share. So my thinking is to have sort of the camera push in very slowly while he delivers the line that says,
"It's happening at night as well. I'm being told that there's a howling sound coming from the school at night."
Yeah, maybe I can emphasize the word howling sound coming from the school at night. And then we have a dramatic pause before he says the line that I think is going to be very influential and definitely trailer-worthy. He's going to say,
"I'm not sure. It's human."
Yeah, that line will have to get some emphasis. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it yet. I think maybe I'll sort of do a cut in or something, but we'll see how that goes. And then after he delivers this line, we move to another medium shot where the principal gives them their mission, and he basically asks them if they're going to accept it. We will then close off the sequence with the kids looking at each other for confirmation. And then I also thought, just for character growth, we're going to have Amy be more brave. So she's going to be very excited and respond very enthusiastically to the mission, whereas Jason's going to respond a little more skeptically, and a little bit less brave. And hopefully at the end of the movie, we'll have the characters reversed as they go through a growth, which is typical of all movies. And that's all you're going to get for now. Hopefully it's enough to keep you enticed and to keep you hooked to this video. Needless to say, I finished all of my storyboards, and very honestly, it took me a lot longer than anticipated. It took me a total of 4 hours to put together those sketches, but I'm super grateful to the guys at Bloop Animation for making their storyboard template available for free. So just a quick recap on the time spent thus far after finishing stage number 5. So our first 3 steps, which is basically our concept, story, and script, that took about 1 hour and 15 minutes. Step number 2, which was our concept art, took about 45 minutes. And then the step which is completed now, which is our storyboard, took me 4 hours. And that's, if you add it up together, it equates to plus minus 6 hours. All right, cool stuff. So storyboarding is done. Now we move on to the next step, which is step number 6, which is our voice acting.
As many of you know, Disney hires professional actors to do all of the voice acting. And as many of you also know, this costs Disney an arm and a leg, but obviously I cannot afford that. So throughout my exploration process in animation, I always found myself having to answer this question: am I going to throw time or am I going to throw money at the next step in the process? Now, normally for voice acting, I would be using money and paying a human to do the voices for me. I usually go over to Fiverr, which is quite cost effective. But how can I do that when I'm busy making an AI animated movie? So for the sake of this particular video, I opted to go the AI route. And then I came across 11 Labs. So 11 Labs is a text to voice AI software. And in fact, 11 Labs can also generate a voice based on you entering your own voice prompts in there. But I used their basic voices, and I found a voice that I think suits Principal Peter's okay.
Allow the world to live as it chooses, and allow yourself to live as you choose.
And I got a nice voice for Amy.
What do you mean by mysterious?
Jason's voice, however, there wasn't any young kids' voices available.
Yeah, he is kind of weird, but let's focus. We have a job to do.
So I had to pitch that up in my editing software, which came out okay.
Yeah, he is kind of weird, but let's focus. We have a job to do.
But here's the results after using 11 Labs.
This is the best visual we have of the suspect. What do you kids think?
Why us? Principal Peters?
Because you are our school's best newspaper journalists. And I'm sure you'll be able to figure out this mystery. It's gotten completely out of control and becoming more and more mysterious.
What do you mean by mysterious?
All right, done. But honestly, even using 11 Labs, I'm not quite happy with the voices. Knowing myself, I'll probably go back to Fiverr, get some real voices, and then redo the voicemes, redo the facial animations, and just polish it all off. But yeah, maybe you guys can let me know in the comments below if you want me to do that. Maybe we can, in my next video, compare the 11 Labs voices with the real actors' voices and see whether the difference is actually that big. But for the sake of time and finishing this project on time, I have to basically move on. So at this stage, I have completed all of the voices using 11 Labs. And you know, even with all the ups and downs and all the tweaking, I actually managed to finish it in less than 3 hours, which is, I think, brilliant. It'll definitely take me a lot longer to get my voices back from the actors on Fiverr. So yeah, 3 hours is not bad at all, which leads us on to the next step, or should I say next steps. We're actually going to move on to steps 7, 8, and 9, which is going to include the modeling of our characters, and then texturing our characters, and then also rigging all of our characters. Let's move on and see how we did that.
So the guys over at Disney and Pixar have a team of very expensive in-house professionals who painstakingly model, texture, and rig their custom characters and props for all of their movies. And I know that this takes forever. And the reason I know this is because I tried doing it in Blender. It was going to be a very time-consuming process, so I opted to go the other route, which is basically grabbing ready-to-go characters, sets, and props. Now, fortunately for me, I have been in the 3D game for a while, and I've gathered quite a few characters and props. A number of them happen to be freebies, or I've got them on a hugely discounted price, and that's basically the bulk of my 3D content. I know that Reallusion, for example, has these toon-style characters which become brilliant for base characters, and my plan is to actually use these characters to create my characters for this particular animation as well. So what I do is I open up these base characters inside Character Creator 4, which is one of the Reallusion software that I'm very familiar with, and then I simply change the appearance by using these easy-to-use morph sliders. So I will be importing my Mid-Journey image to shape Amy and Jason here. And yeah, as you can see, it's actually quite easy. All I got to do is just slide some of the sliders over to get the shape of the head, the shape of the face, and all the features correctly as well. So I'm going to forward this particular section because it is quite boring to watch me do this. But yeah, I'll show you the final result as soon as I'm done. Our characters are done. So here's a look at our 5 main characters. To put them together took me a total of 6.5 hours, which is not bad for 5 characters, and I'm actually quite happy with the way that they turned out. So our first character, which is Amy, she took me about 2.5 hours to design. I shouldn't say to design, to basically edit, because I used the base character and worked from there. And then our second main character, which is Jason, was a lot quicker. He took me about an hour and a half to do. And then the third character is Principal Peters, which only took me 20 minutes, by the way. And the reason for that was because I used an animated version of myself. And then I just added a slider for a more toon-style character, pulled that up, and yeah, 20 minutes later, I had my principal character, which is a toon version of me, actually.
And then, of course, we've got our Masked Stranger. This took about 40 minutes. And then another character that's going to be featured in here is our janitor, Chipino, and he took about an hour and a half. So yeah, looking at 6.5 hours to make my 5 main characters. I've also got some extras, but those I have pre-made for another short animation that I made before. So I'm literally going to just drag and drop them in. So there's no need for me to actually create any more characters because I have enough background characters and extras as well. So if you are interested to see in more detail how I created these characters, please check out one of my other videos where I actually talk you through step by step how I create my Disney style characters. But for now, we're going to move on to the props and the sets. So the props and the sets, they come from different places, and again, I opted to pay for them. Most of them I already had, fortunately, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, which I've acquired either on sale or for free. And this also took me a lot longer to actually gather these props, especially my backgrounds and my sets. And here are a couple of those that I've eventually opted to use for our particular movie here. So yeah, to prep all 6 of these sets took nearly 9 hours, and that was basically moving furniture around and trying to make the set work for what I wanted to do. The first one is obviously the school exterior. That one took me about an hour and a half, one of the quickest ones. And then the hallway itself was a drag and drop, which I used from this particular set here. I actually got this from Daz, and I use this for all of my hallway scenes. The principal's office was an interesting one. This one I actually got from this particular set here, and I just converted it to FBX and brought it into my animation software. All of these sets are going to be moved over from Real Illusion's iClone to Unreal Engine, but I'll talk you guys through that later on. And then one of the bigger sets took me a bit of time to set up, actually was the library set. And then I've also got a cafeteria set, which is a basic one. That one took me about 2 hours.
And that's it. Our sets are ready and our characters are ready to be animated, but you'll have to wait until next time before I show you guys how the animation process actually is done. Thanks so much for sticking it out way till the end of this particular video. I appreciate that, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do so until we join each other again for my 3rd part of this particular series. Keep well, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Bye.